So over a year ago, Caitlin Clark ruled the basketball world. After a 40-point triple-double against Louisville and Haley Van Lith, Caitlin Clark came out and played an undefeated South Carolina team, who at the time were 36-0, led by Aaliyah Boston, and also had Camila Cardoso, and Caitlin Clark scored 41 points. This undefeated team, Caitlin Clark dropped 41 points against them. But something else happened that day, and it's now being brought up. I don't think it's as big a deal as people are making it, but I also think that it is, it's just not a great look. And I just think in general with some of the WNBA players, especially with the way people that are trying to just clown the league will look at certain things, and they're going to attribute stuff to players, especially because there's a lot of, these people are not new fans. The people that are trying to tear down everyone in the WNBA and only put Caitlin Clark on a pedestal and don't watch the game, they're not fans. They're just people looking to tear down the WNBA and are using Clark as an excuse to do it. Before we get on, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 13.2 thousand subscribers by the end of the day. Thank you guys so much for the support. But if you guys didn't see, during this game, this was a conversation between 3 WNBA players: Sydney Coulson, Lexi Brown, and Isabel Harrison. So, watching them not guard guards is even more insane in person. They gotta add a defense of 3 seconds. Like, please, that's crazy. If you can't play both ends of the floor, then you shouldn't be able to make it this far. And a lot of people, I will say, a lot of people are gonna say that think this is an attack on Caitlin. Like, and I'm looking at this comment here. Can't shoot a step in 15-footer. And this is basically when Caitlin Clark waved off Raven Johnson. So, I don't, the worst part is that you see this comment right here. If you can't play both ends. Realistically, Raven could not play offense last year. She was really good this year, by the way. She was really good. She came back after the wave off, and she was a big reason why South Carolina won. Let's give credit where credit's due. She improved, she got better, and she was a big reason why they lost, her lack of offense, but her lack of she improved and got way better. But you can see here, it's crazy. If you can't play both ends, you shouldn't be able to make it this far. This is talking about Caitlin Clark. These are WNBA players talking about Caitlin Clark. Sydney Coulson averages 2 points a game. Let's call a spade. Like, she's fine. She is a fine basketball player. Like Isabel Harrison. Coulson is the only one here that is out here going at Caitlin Clark. But imagine if an NBA player did that. Imagine if an NBA player was out there criticizing college players. And then, this is also what she said immediately after that. So obviously, she goes and tweets out this. Like, look, this isn't a good look. This is not a good look. Saying they look alike, like, I don't see it, but like, it's one thing. But when you're out there tweeting negative stuff about Iowa, tweeting negative stuff about Caitlin Clark, and then you go and tweet out something like this about a teammate? Like, I know it's being brought up now. It was something from over a year ago, but this is a horrible look. And the fact that this was just let away with at the time is crazy. Like, the fact that nothing was said about this at the time. Like, imagine if an NBA player did that. Imagine if it was an NBA player that was tweeting this stuff out about, like, a college player. Like, especially a college player that had just dropped 40 points in that game, by the way. It had just dropped 40 points. And was insulting them, insulting their teammates. By the looks of things, like, again, I don't know anything. Like, you don't know the context of this, but it doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good. And then, because it leads to stuff like this, let's talk about the fact that Sydney Coulson, a 34-year-old WNBA player averaging these numbers, is talking about opportunities for much better, much more talented, much more worthy, and obviously much younger players from getting to live a WNBA dream just because she has team connections. Sydney Coulson is a player that she seems to be liked. She seems to be very liked by every one of her teammates. And, like, she's someone who just takes the absolute piss on social media. Like, if you know about Sydney Coulson on social media, she speaks with no filter. Like, she's even tweeting at this. Like, this is, like, last year, 5 months after. Y'all trying to throw shots saying I'm a scrub and I only had 2 points. Well, I only played 15 minutes. Imagine if I played 30, I would have had 4 points. I think it's probably during the finals, was it? I could have had 4 points. Let's not even talk about 40 minutes. I might have had 5.33 points. It's math, people. Like, she doesn't take herself seriously. She doesn't really take anything seriously. The problem is that with WNBA players now, the bigger you are as a league, the bigger your team is going to get, the more you are a public figure, and the more just careful you have to be. And it's cool when it comes to going at people, like, especially when it's like a league you represent. It is like it's just not a good look. Like, these two things are not good looks. Are not good looks at all, to be honest. They are really not good looks. And the fact is, again, it has been almost like doubled down on by WNBA players. And I think you're going to see it more and more on Twitter. Obviously, this is looking back a year ago. I'm not sure if anything like that happens right now when it comes to someone like Coulson. But again, if you see everything that she's done as far as the reason she's in the league, the reason she's in the league is not because of team connections. The reason she's in the league is because she is a good teammate. She can come in. She's cool with coming off the bench. She can play. She'll play limited minutes and give whatever impact she can those limited minutes. And she's actually not a terrible basketball player. Like, even still, obviously she was good in her prime, but not a terrible basketball player at all. But it is like, there's a reason why people are on team rosters. And I do think when it comes to these players that just got to be a little, I think just in general, got to be a little more careful. Just got to be a little careful. And this isn't a good look, but it's not like it was anything horrendously bad. But this isn't like a tweet from someone when they were in high school. This isn't a tweet from somebody when they were like in college and didn't know any better. This was a tweet at the time from a 33-year-old Sydney. These were tweets from 33-year-old Sydney Coulson about Monica Sinano, who, 2 weeks after this was drafted? 2 weeks after this was drafted. And also Caitlin Clark, who, no offense to Coulson, is better than she ever was. So I think we've seen a lot of stuff like that. And I think a lot of the WNBA players, when it comes to Twitter, will tweet out stuff with absolute, like, knowing there's, like, obviously with no filter, but like knowing that in the past there was no consequence in general to whatever they said. And obviously now we're at a stage where it's obviously, look, there's not as many consequences. It's not as big consequences as if an NBA player does it. But now, like, hopefully this situation does not even blow up, but like that teams might see this situation and just be like to the players, be like, you know what? Maybe refrain from tweeting out something that looks like it could be shaming a college player on her looks. And also, let's refrain from maybe hating on a college player who is going to carry our league. But it is just kind of sad, like, seeing that. But it's one of those things where it's like, if this is from a random person, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If it's from an NBA player, or if it's from a player in the league, there's obviously more weight to what it said. Especially because, like, look, there was a non-zero possibility that Monica Sinano was going to be drafted to the Aces last year and been there for training camp. After a tweet like that, like, that just makes things awkward. And I don't know, like, seeing some of the stuff on Twitter, especially in the past, and even looking at some of the stuff that have been celebrated in the past, is just kind of disturbing. Like, when Taurasi literally kissed someone on the court as part of trash talk. Like, some of the things that are genuinely, I'm like, for this league, the past needs to be left in the past. And look, there's no point attacking Sydney Coulson for this. There's no point saying that she should be out of the league, because she actually fills in a decent and important enough role for the Aces. That's literally what the Aces are built on. They've got their superstars and they're surrounding them with role players who know how to play with superstars, and that's what Coulson is. But still, the tweets weren't a good look. There's no point retrospectively apologizing. Or either way, whichever it is. There's no point apologizing like a year and a half in advance. But I do think WNBA players, some of them just need to be a little bit more careful on social media, because like what they say will have, especially now, will have a lot more weight than it might have had a year ago. Especially because this was a nothing. Nobody really talked. Very few people talked about this when it happened. And then obviously it's coming out like a year and a bit later. So yeah, just in general, it's the case with all sports people, and it's the case with all people to be a little bit careful on social media. And like, again, as somebody with no filter on social media, I've lost my fair share of opportunities. I've lost my fair share of money from not having a filter. So I know as well as anyone of the negatives that can come along with that.